everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Chanel in the City. And I am your host, Chanel Amari. I have such an exciting guest here today. I can't stop smiling at her, at the mic. It's amazing. She is a worldwide superstar. She is infamous. She is a famous, independent, strong, amazing woman. One of the people I actually look up to. And we're going to get into a lot. And she's a spokeswoman for Seeking Arrangements. She talks a lot about relationships. She's going to give us advice on tips with dating today. And we're going to talk about the media. Please welcome. She doesn't even need an intro. Rachel Uchitel.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
You are amazing. First of all, you're so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
In person.
So are you.
Thank you. I mean, I try, but
no, you don't need to try. You're so pretty.
Thank you. And you are so pretty and you look so amazing in your hair. Can we just talk about your outfit and how do you look like this at 4:00 in the afternoon? I love it.
Thanks. That's so nice. But you too can have this hair. You can buy it anywhere.
Ooh.
Yeah. Extensions are for everyone.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I didn't know that because it looks like your real hair.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, they do a really good job. But I'm very particular with my hair, because it can make anyone look fabulous at any time of the day, right?
True.
So, I really believe in extensions. I've had extensions for a very long time.
That's amazing. And is it hard to maintain?
No, because it's like real hair. So, I'm someone who has had them for at least 10 years.
Oh, so it's sewed in.
It's not sewed in, it's glued in.
Oh, wow.
And you have to really maintain it. You have to do it every 3 months. It's something it's sort of an expensive investment, just like people, really believe in makeup. Some people really believe in their nails. Some people believe in their clothes. Some people believe in their cars, whatever it is for them. For me, it's my hair, and people kind of know me for my hair. If I cut off my hair and I went blonde or, whatever, people would notice that, So for me, it's I always have this same sort of color hair, long hair. That's my thing.
And I love that you say that. It's because it's so deep the way you talk about it. We are known for our hair. Like me, I was known for long hair. Mm-hmm. And when I kind of, we're going to talk about mental health issues. You and I have bonded over that. And I was in the media for a little bit, not as much as you were, but, with certain things. And I cut my hair because I was going through it. And I felt like cutting my hair, even though I don't like the stigma, and I want to know your opinion, where men and a lot of women will associate you cutting your hair as you going through a mental breakdown, which I don't agree with, but I did go through I wanted to change. I had a breakup. I was going through things, in the public eye. And I said to myself, maybe if I have a new fresh cut, I can make a comeback. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about, a woman's hair? Because you said it so beautifully.
Well, I mean, I definitely agree with that. And I've tried. I've changed my hair color. I've definitely changed my cut, during the pandemic when nobody was doing their hair.
Yeah.
My daughter changed my hair color. We went to Dwayne Reed and she did my hair color for me. My daughter was 8 at the time. So obviously that didn't go very well, but we tried that. And quite frankly, with my extensions at the time, we Googled it and we found out how to cut your hair. It was way too long. It was kind of hanging down in my hair and I couldn't stand it. I couldn't maintain it. And I was definitely dealing with a lot of stress at the time for a lot of reasons, just like everyone. But for me, I was going through a lot and my hair felt like it was weighing me down. And we Googled how to cut your own hair. And because of my extensions, it was overly long. It was down to, where your jeans start. So my daughter and I put it into pigtails and we cut it literally to my shoulders. Oh. And, nobody was seeing you, so nobody could see me. But I will definitely tell you it affects your self-esteem. It affects my self-esteem. And I didn't feel pretty with short hair. I felt like it aged me. I felt like it wasn't me. So I don't know how it affects other people. But for me, I feel like I have to have the long hair. I feel like it's a sense of identity for me. I feel sexy with it long. And yes, I've tried to make that adjustment to change my hair when I feel like I'm going through things. But when I take my extensions out, I feel like I look like a girl from a crack den, because my hair is so thin and it's just not me. And I like the thickness. I like the length. I like to feel, even when I'm alone, it has nothing to do with men, actually. It's for my own sense of sex appeal just when I'm sitting in my bed watching Dateline. I mean, it literally does not have to do with men, but it's your own sense of self-worth and sex appeal for yourself. And that's what it comes down to. I mean, it really doesn't have to do with men.
That's what I love that you're saying that because I think we put so much pressure on what men want from us and what they, sometimes they are over sexualizing us, and we'll get into that. I mean, you've experienced it. I've experienced, we've all experienced it as women, but now add the public eye, the media to it. So I like that you're saying I do this for me. I don't judge whoever wants to do what they want to do. I'm not speaking for all women. I'm speaking for myself
Right.
of like this is what makes me confident. I think it's important that we all feel confident in our own skin by what we want to do, whether it's, right?
Right. And I will tell
Yeah.
you, I get compliments all the time. I mean, at least every other day on my hair
I am
from
sure.
women. I mean, men will compliment me on my hair, I guess, but very small amount compared to women.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot that women do things or wear things to impress other women, but you find that women are the ones that are complimenting you when you really look good or when you feel good. You notice that a woman is really looking at you. Men will look at you, but women are the ones that are really looking at you, and you notice,
That's so true. We're always dressing for women. And I
Mhm.
love how you also are on this self journey of self love where you're saying, I'll do it for myself watching Dateline because that's how it should be, right?
Right.
Like we should learn. Talk to us a little bit about like what were your steps in falling in love with yourself or how can we fall in love with ourselves?
Well, I think that's a constant battle and a constant journey because I mean, who the hell really can say, "Oh, I'm really happy just being with myself." I mean, I have always found that well, we're all the common denominator when we're chasing and we're looking for something. We always can run around looking for something and we always end up with the same thing ourselves, right? So, um, when I was younger, I took a lot of trips. I traveled to a lot of places and I did it by myself. Um, because I wanted to force myself to learn that I could be resourceful and I could do things on my own and figure it out on my own. I happened to do a lot of those trips after breakups so that I was really heartbroken. I felt like I was running away from things. At the time, I didn't realize that I was running away from things. At the time, I didn't realize that I was doing it to keep getting away and keep trying to not be on my phone and looking to see if he was going to call and, literally getting out of the country to, run away from something. But at the end of the day, I was always trying to leave me, and the heartbreak. And that was in my 20s. I'm now 46. I'm not dating anybody now per se, but if I was to break up with someone, I can definitely tell you I would still feel like that. I would feel like I had to get away. I had to do something to get out of that loneliness, but I've learned not to do that anymore because that's just you're running in circles to get away from that feeling. So I think I've just learned through age and experience that okay, I just have to sit in the moment and be okay with being alone because that's when you're most powerful and you can only like be happiest with yourself when you really just are okay with being alone. And I've had so many experiences in my life, like working at nightclubs and working in huge groups of people where you look around and everyone's having so much fun in nightclubs or in, where all these celebrities are and everybody's beautiful and everyone's having the best time and the music's thumping and everyone's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And if you really look around, everyone's lonely, miserable, looking for love, doing drugs,
Yeah.
and everyone is miserable. Everyone, if you stopped the music and the lights came on, they would want to fucking kill themselves. Can I say that?
Yeah, of
Sorry.
course. You could say yes. Yeah, but
But
that's I've thought it, but no one's ever said that out loud. So that's why you're so fucking cool for saying that because it's true.
but it's true because, I've run into them years
Yeah.
later and whether I was close to them or not, I've seen them go to rehab later. I've seen them lose all their money. You read
Sure.
about them later, or I've become friends with them later, and we laugh about how we were all having the best time, but it was the most miserable time in our lives. And we were all running from something, and we all thought we were so cool, and it was so fun, and it really was heartbreaking about how much time we wasted and money and effort and people we went through and relationships we hung on to and clung to because we were just we thought that was better than the aloneness of not having anyone. And that's what I've struggled with my whole life, like this love addiction of needing to be with someone because it was so scary to just be in the silence of being alone.
Yes. I so relate because like I'm going through it now and it's like I like remember going to One Oak and I'm like, oh my God, this is the best time in my life. But really, now that you're saying that, I'm like, oh my God, I was really sad. And I think people don't want to admit that, but the more you admit it, the better you are to self-love. Because you're right. I had to sit with myself alone, and it's the scariest thing in the world.
Right.
But if you don't, then I think you're always going to constantly seek for that, like partying and that, it's like excessive, right? Because the same thing. And I wanted to talk about your nightlife experience because I feel like you've been around it where you worked in it. So you saw it. It wasn't like, oh, hi, I'm coming to the club and I'm just hanging out as a celebrity. You were also involved, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Can
I
you talk to
ran,
us?
sure, I ran the #1 nightclub in the world, in the height of it, when we literally started it, through the height of when it was the biggest restaurant and nightclub in the entire world. So I'm really proud of that. And people don't even, they skip over that part of my
I
story
know.
all the time. And that to me was like the most interesting part of my whole story.
Can you share the nightclub with the audience?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It was Tao nightclub in
Tao,
Las
yeah.
Vegas.
And
And
by the way, just sorry to interrupt, but just so you know, when we all wanted to get hooked up with Tao, everyone would say, well, the woman in charge, because it was so bizarre at that time to have a woman in charge, right?
Mhm.
Because not that it was so taboo, but it was just more than now.
Mhm.
And I would remember everyone saying Rachel Uchitel is like the boss. Like you were that woman I wanted to be because I saw the power
Mhm.
and the respect that you got
Yeah.
from not just men, women,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
Managers, owners, Noah Teppenberg, Jason Strauss, who are the owners of that, Tao and that group. So when celebrities would come in, and we would be like, how are we going to get in?
Yeah.
Because, when you run the place, you don't always want everyone, so take us through that a little bit. I just wanted to say how cool that is that people do skip over
Yeah.
the fact that you had one of the most important jobs in the world.
In the world,
to keep people happy at
the
time.
#1
One
place
time.
ever.
Yeah.
And it was a man's job that was impossible to get. You had to work for years to actually have that job. And I, by accident, fell into that job because the person that had that job was, I actually forget if they were stealing or they did something to get fired, like the second week that we opened. And I happened to be friends. I was childhood friends with Jason. We were each other's first kiss when we were 12, and we had dated on and off up until this moment. And I had come out to Vegas and was helping him for the month before we opened. I was like his sidekick, making sure that nobody was stealing, nobody was lying. I was going through a divorce, and I had been working at Bloomberg News for years, and I was like the one girl he could trust, and he knew that I was like going through a divorce, and I literally was driving out to, well, the story is, quite frankly, that I didn't know where I was going, and I had gotten in a car and I was literally driving, and Jason said, well, come to Vegas and help me open this club. And I was like, okay. So I literally came out to Vegas and I helped him, and I had no plans to be there for a long time, and I literally stayed. So as I sort of was staying around and watching all this stuff go on to make sure that everyone was being honest, I learned the business before the doors opened. So I learned what the waitresses were doing. I learned what the hosts were doing, and I just watched over their shoulder. And I think it was the second or third week, the guy who ran the front door got fired for whatever reason it was. And then a girl stepped in, and she was the main boss. And I was then she needed an assistant. So I was kind of her assistant. And then she got fired, and they had no one to run it. Literally that night, the doors opened at 9:00. And literally that night, they had no one to run it. So they were like, well, Rachel, you got to do it. And meanwhile, I didn't really work there. I mean, I worked there. I worked there, but I didn't really, it was like a weird.
It's like almost like, not that I don't want to use the word take advantage, but I know what because I used to be like a hostess and a door girl within the family, and my cousins would I'd give them ideas. So I get where you're coming from. It's like you didn't work officially, but they kind of like brought you in, and they probably picked your brain and asked you questions.
I was a producer at Bloomberg News like a couple months before that.
By the way, hello, can we also we're going to talk about that. This is what drives me crazy, that people want to highlight certain things in the media.
Yeah.
When you've had this huge career.
Yes, it was very bizarre.
And the first woman to you don't understand how cool it was for me, because and also the nicest woman, because we'll get to that about how men or women running the door or running nightclubs can be mean and not let you in for whatever reasons. You were always classy about that.
We did it differently. So I had learned literally everything that they had done. I had seen, and I was very, very good at my job because it was very much like a Karate Kid thing. Up until this moment, I had learned all these skills from I had been a live producer at Bloomberg News, so I had a live show. So I learned what it was like when the cameras went on and everything that could go wrong goes wrong in a live show. So all of a sudden, there's 100 people standing at the door, and, you have to sit these tables, you have to make a certain amount of money, you have to do all these things, you have hosts, you have things going on in your ear, you have to talk to security guards and managers and And so I was very good with crisis. Little things that are irrelevant, I can't handle. If I step on a piece of gum and my heel comes off, that's like irrelevant, and I panic and I don't know what to do. Somebody drops dead in front of me, I'm the best eyewitness ever. A plane gets hijacked, I can figure it out in 2 seconds. I'm the best person to be around in crisis, right? I don't panic, I don't sweat, I'm great. So at the door, they're like, oh, this woman got fired or she left or whatever. You have to run the door tonight. And I'm like, okay, I got it. But I thought it was temporary. And that night was like the best night ever. I'm like, oh, I got this, And the girl, there was like some girl that they stuck in as my assistant. She and I clicked so well. And so I remember she had, my favorite thing are gummy bears. She had a little thing of gummy bears and she had some tissues. I would turn around to her and I'd be like, okay, these people are going to table 51. These people are going to table 5. And then I would be talking so fast I couldn't get the words out, and she could finish my sentences. And then I'd be like, I'm sweating. And she would hand me tissues and I'd put them under my arms. And then she'd hand me gummy bears and she'd put them in my mouth. And then I had the hosts that were all guys, and they would literally, so respectful of me, they knew exactly what I was doing, and I'd hand them the tables and I'd hand them everything moved in sequence and so well. And we sat the room, and the whole room was sat by like 12 o'clock. And I turned around and I looked at Jason, and he's like, you've got this. This is your job. This is the best thing that you're good at. And I had just gone through a divorce. I didn't know who I was, where I was going, what I was supposed to do, but I felt important, and I felt like this was my role. And all of a sudden, I was credible, and I didn't sort of need a man, right? I didn't need to be like, have a, like, I don't know.
Because you were the woman.
Yes, I was the woman. And I was like known as the first lady of Vegas. I was the queen of Vegas all of a sudden. That's who I became there, And then I started dating Jason, and Jason and I lived together. So then I really was the first lady of Vegas, because I was dating the owner of the club, which people...
Who was very powerful and still is very powerful.
And still is very powerful. But people were like, oh, she's dating the owner because she slept to the top. No, he was my first kiss. We had dated on and off at that point for 25 years, right? So there was a love there that was very deep, and I was really holding tight to his business. I wanted his business to work, but it was my job. And then, my job got very hard to sort of manage and go down the line, because I was really working to protect the clients. I wanted to make sure the clients were having a good time. I wanted to make sure that my job, I was doing it right. But then as his girlfriend, it was kind of like, well, where's the fine line? Like, when are you bringing me to openings of things as your girlfriend, not just as the owner, the girl who's like the manager of the club? I want to be known as the director of VIP operations. I want to stand there not as your girlfriend. So we got into some issues there. And then, girls would come to the front door, these models, and they'd be like, hi, I'm here to see Jason, and I'd be like, yeah, sure you are.
So like, I was going to be like, would you say you're not coming in tonight? Like,
no.
So that's what I was saying. That's so cool of you. You were very mature. Like, you could tell you had confidence right away. Why you were probably called the queen and still are is because a queen has confidence and isn't insecure by other pretty women. And I feel like a lot of women who ran the door or ran nightclubs wouldn't let certain people in. Like, how did you pick and choose? How did you deal with the jealousy? I mean, I would go, honestly, Rachel, I would have gone Lorena Bobbitt every time secretly.
No, well, it's so funny. You end up understanding a different kind of confidence, because of course, Cindy Crawford was there. Like, the most beautiful of beautiful models comes in every night. And then the people that have the most interesting personalities come in every night. Right. You see everybody from Madonna to Paris Hilton to everyone. And then you see just the most beautiful average off the street women who are very interesting. And your relationships get tested, your friendships get tested, your patience gets tested. And just, but this is every night, right? And then you don't get to see what your boyfriend's doing upstairs, much less the owner of the club, who everyone wants to fuck.
Pretty much.
Right? So I started to realize that I had some persona to me too. People wanted to fuck me too, right?
Yes,
so I was
baby.
just like, yeah. So there was an equalness to that also, but I started to realize that I had some power in that by not getting jealous. And the more jealous you become, the less the less valuable, you become a liability, quite frankly. Men do not want someone who's such a pain in the ass all the time, that's so insecure. And also, I started to realize that if you sort of let that person go, you have a much better relationship. But, for me, I ended up realizing that if I just was centered in my job and who I was, I felt much more confident. And listen, I ended up meeting the most powerful men who, were sitting next to me and then having these super girl models next to them. And let me tell you, at the end of the night, they were asking for my number, and not the other girls. And it's because I was their wingman. It was because I was the one protecting them. I wasn't asking for their number. I wasn't desperate. It was because I was the one who, was more of their friend. It was, I wasn't really impressed with who they were. I mean, of course, I was impressed by probably their who how they got to where they were, but it wasn't like I wanted to just sleep with them that night just to be around them.
Right.
I really wanted to protect them. I wanted to know what they drank, what their life was about. I wanted to make sure that they were having the best night of their lives, and I was really good at my job, and they respected that. And that's what made me valuable to them. And I found at the end of the day, they wanted to keep that relationship with me, and they found those girls to be replaceable very quickly. And so that built my confidence up. And because of that confidence I had, I realized that if my boyfriend didn't want me because of that, then he could go be with someone else. So I tried to put that out of my head. I mean, eventually, Jason and I did break up,
Right.
and we broke up because of a lot of issues that had to do with, I wouldn't say jealousy, but there was too much outside stuff going on, and there were bigger issues than that. But that's a very hard environment to have a relationship in for so long.
Oh, yeah.
But he's a great guy, and sometimes work gets involved in a relationship like that. But I dated him since we were kids.
Yeah.
And so he will always be my first love, and you can never sort of not have love for your first love.
Yeah, that's the thing is like it does bother me when the media tries to paint, or the public, because I'm in comedy and podcasting too, or if I'm with a guy that's good looking and he's higher up in the business, it's automatically assumed that we're sleeping with them or we're going to sleep with them to get to the top. But really, it's human nature, like it's human chemistry. I
Yeah.
mean, you, even friendship is you can hire me tomorrow because we bonded, but that doesn't mean you're. I don't know. I feel like, how do you feel about that culture or this culture now with this, like, you got to where you got to because you slept with the right person in power? It's a lot of misogyny. It's a lot of shaming. And I'm just, trying to navigate through it as well.
Well, you mean like people that are working together and then people wonder if they were sleeping with them?
Yeah. Or like like for instance, in comedy or in entertainment, television, if a woman's dating a man who's an executive producer or higher in power, it's automatically assumed she slept with him to get there. Just like in your situation with Jason, this people assume that but you didn't. You worked really hard and you busted your ass, and you were mostly the brains behind it.
Yes.
See, most people don't know that's a gorgeous, intelligent woman behind the man.
Well,
so
I will say something about the fact that when you're working with someone, there's you end up having a lot of respect for them, and there is this chemistry with them. I mean, not for anything, you end up hearing a lot about men who leave their wives for secretaries, right? And they put down the secretary, right? And they're like, oh, she's just a secretary. Well, let's talk about that for a second. Secretaries spend all day long with these men. They do their schedules. They literally know these men in and out. They know everything they're doing. They make sure their dry cleaning's done. They take care of these men, right?
Right.
So it's kind of, I don't, I'm never surprised when that happens. It's because these women have a chemistry with these guys that these men probably don't get at home. So when you're talking about women and men that have a chemistry at work, obviously there's something that, they really are bouncing back on and off of each other that works. And, who knows, I don't know anything about what we're talking about people that have known each other before or after. But when you're working with somebody, there has to be a chemistry to make the producing between them work. And if they end up having a sexual chemistry, because of it, I would understand that.
Right.
It happens a lot.
Has it ever bothered you? I guess the question is that so in terms of like relationships, like because you've dated a lot of celebrities as well, just people giving credit to the man more than you. Has that ever happened to you? And if so, was there a specific time you can share?
Yeah. Well, when you say credit, what do you mean?
So if you worked really hard for an idea that you gave them, a business idea that became successful, was it more like, well, it's me, it's my idea, it's
Oh.
my baby? Where sometimes us women we're fighting for that credit, we're
Oh,
fighting
yeah.
for that like acknowledgement, like
Sure. I mean, I think that they will, I think that there's a stigma that it's always the men that will get, the credit when the woman, can put in a lot of the work. And then if the man is more, out there and upfront, or, the celebrity, the woman will not get as much credit for it at all. I think that there's a stigma that goes into the woman hasn't put in the work, or she slept with the man to do the dirty work behind it. I mean, I think there is a stigma to that.
what do we need to do as women to change that, according to your opinion?
Well, I mean, I think there's a stigma that goes with women in general. I mean, I think there's so many, roads you can go on to talk about the different stigmas with women, right? I mean, there women sometimes do a disservice to themselves too, because they sort of cry wolf sometimes and make themselves the victim. They can, and they want to be saved, and they sometimes don't work hard for things. So, it really depends what we're talking about. And so I think, when I was in my 20s, even though I did have a job, I remember talking to my girlfriends. Like, one of my girlfriends, she worked at JP Morgan, and we were probably 21, and I worked at Bloomberg at the time. And I remember having a conversation with 3 or 4 girls, and we were all at dinner, and we were talking about who everybody was dating. And we were all like, oh, who are we dating now? And I can't wait till we get married, and then we just have kids and we all stop working. And that was the mentality 20 years ago, that we were all going to be just saved and then become housewives. And, that was the thing. So
Right.
now I think it's a lot different. Women really want to be empowered, want to have jobs, want to work for themselves, make their own money so they can make their own decisions, and not be victims to what the man has to tell them to do or say or think. And I think it's better when women can really empower themselves and have that voice so that they can make a decision for themselves. You do not want to walk around and not have your own opinion just because you don't have your own money or your job or your thoughts. That's my opinion on that.
I love that. And also, okay, we're going to get into some of the famous men that you've dated. And the reason we're going to get into that, which is one of them, Tiger Woods, and that whole situation, is my question about why do you think men, going back to the double life, why are men leaving women for the secretary, for a mistress, for another woman, and not just being honest with themselves and honest at home and being with the person they really want to be with? I guess it's hard for me to wrap my head around, is it because of image? Is it because of kids? Like, what do you think, based on your experience watching everything as well and seeing it happen, what do you think it is?
Why are they leaving, or why are they cheating?
Both.
Well, you would have to ask each one separately.
Or why aren't they leaving? Sorry, also.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, listen, I think everyone has different reasons for different things. Some people do it because they have deep, dark rooted issues with sexuality. Some people do it because they have had a long-term marriage that doesn't work and they're not getting what they need at home. Some people just literally meet a person that they fall in love with. So I think it really is different for each person, and you really cannot make, one blanket statement for, a society of men or women that choose to make a decision and leave. But, listen, marriages, sometimes people get married after meeting someone for, 5 weeks, and that's way too soon. And people are getting married in their 20s and they change by the time they're 40. So, you cannot, in my opinion, say that a marriage hasn't worked just because it's not for a lifetime. I think that sometimes marriages play out and then you change as a person and then you move on, and that's okay too. So I don't think you need to look at that as a failure. You look at it that, that has been your course of life and your first act. And then you hopefully amicably can end that and move on to whatever your second act is, if that is what you guys choose to do. And, sometimes that's what people need to do. And hopefully you don't hurt the other person by having an affair. But some people choose to have open relationships too, and
True.
they don't share that with other people, and it looks like they're cheating. So that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, there are a ton of people that have open relationships now. That's like a whole thing.
I know you're right. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Yes. Cause recently, I had to like not be with, I didn't even get to the point of being with them. I couldn't even date them when they had told me, well, I'm in an open relationship, because it's not for me, because I would get jealous and I would get territorial, I think.
Totally.
And I'm working through it, because I also I agree with you.
But why do you need to work through it? I don't get those relationships either.
Well, right. So because I feel like you're right. Being jealous and being like that does hurt relationships more. Like, let's say I was the cool girl like you and didn't show my jealousy, maybe I would have had more success in the relationship to last longer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I will never be with, okay, so I really only date people that are online dating. Like, that's how I've met my boyfriends in the last 8 years.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of times when men contact me, I will see that they say, oh, I'm in a current relationship, but we're in an open relationship. Like, I won't. First of all, I've interacted with him a couple times and been like, I don't get it. Explain this to me, because I want to try and understand it.
Right.
Or I've done a podcast before. It's called Intimate Knowledge. And one of the women on it, she's so interesting. She's open about the fact that they have an open relationship. And I'm like, please tell me about this, because I can't wrap my head around this. How do you go and have an open relationship? And she's like, well, when my husband finds somebody attractive, he'll tell me, and then they might go to a bar together, and if they want to sleep with each other, they do, and then he'll come back to me. Oh, hell no. If I was in a relationship with somebody and he's like, I find that girl hot and I'm going to go sleep with her, I'd be like, what? What are you talking about?
Or bye.
Yeah, bye, that's cheating. Or probably not bye. I'd probably rip his face off.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. No, I won't be with, I don't have threesomes. That I don't understand either.
Me
Remember
too.
that whole movie? What was it? Like,
Wild Things, right?
the
Not-
one where he offers to pay $1 million if he can sleep with the wife, with Demi Moore.
Oh my God, yes. Indecent Proposal, one of my
Yes.
favorite movies. It was, I know, the most heartbreaking shit in the
Yes,
world.
and he agrees to pay the
Yeah.
money, and then it ruins their whole relationship because he spends the whole time wondering if she's thinking about him and if they're in love. Yeah, that would
And
happen.
who does it hurt the most? Both of them, but him. Right. It's
and
just,
it ruins their marriage.
Yeah.
Well, I think, because you don't
It
really
does.
know what happens
Right,
at the
the
end.
end.
But
I know,
yeah,
which is the
it's
right.
the worst. I could
It's the
never do that, because it would just ruin your relationship. And a friend of mine actually the other night was telling me, we went to dinner, and she's like, okay, I'm leaving because I'm going to a swingers club. And I'm like, what?
I've
What
been hearing
is
about
that?
that. What is this?
Yeah.
It's like a hip new thing. My cousin calls me. She goes, I can't talk. She goes, first of all, I have allergies. I said, first of all, stop fucking lying to me about your allergies, okay? You're not at 2 a.m. fucking sneezing with your allergies. Then go get sinusitis.
Right.
Because when I have allergies, I'm fucking in my bed watching Netflix. But she's like, okay, fine. I didn't want to tell you. We're going to this swingers club. I'm like, what is this with? And sex parties. This is also a thing, which I don't judge, because I find it kind of cool from afar. But I find it cool from afar, not from up close. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah, sure. I want to hear all about it, but
Right.
I would be too intimidated to do it. Yeah.
And do you so you think, from your experience or expertise in general, people are doing it because they want to find something else. They're trying to seek something else. Like, why do people feel this open relationship works? Like, does it really work? Because it ends up, like you said, affecting the marriage or affecting the relationship even more, because that's how you're creating jealousy issues.
I mean, listen, again, I don't want to speak for
Right,
anyone,
everybody.
because then they come back
True.
at you and they're like, and then you get all in trouble for speaking for them.
True.
My personal opinion is that when people talk about open relationships and being in them, they say all these things about why it works. I think those people want to be cool because they think that's what the man thinks they want. Or that's what they think the man wants, and they think it's going to be sexy. And these women are like, oh, yeah, I want a threesome and I want to be with a girl, because they think the man wants that. I don't want to be with a girl. I'm not going to be with a girl. I'm not attracted to women. I'm not going to pretend I'm attracted to a woman because this guy that I'm obsessed with wa- thinks that that's sexy. That would never happen. I would not cross that boundary. I just wouldn't do it. And if I'm that obsessed with a man, I need to check myself because it just is going to ruin my life. I already know it. It's going to send me over the edge. I'm going to end up standing on a bridge somewhere. So I already know at this stage in the game that I've been through this before and it's going to ruin my life. So I can't be in a relationship like that.
I love that. And that's what I love about you too, is that you're very strong in terms of like, you don't judge but you stand strong towards your conviction. You have to set boundaries. That's the whole thing. That you're right. We think we're cool. Like, I dated this guy for 6 months and I wanted to be the cool girl. And he would literally, the red flags, only see me once a week. Never make a plan. Rachel's like, oh yeah, boo boo. We got to have dinner and I got to coach you because really I need your advice.
Oh,
And so I saw the signs.
Yeah.
I always tried to change me. Why are you so loud? Why are you so funny? It's like, bro, I'm going to always be like this. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to pop kids and be, because that's the only way I know how to be, because that's what makes me truly happy is being real. I can't be fake. I can't be dishonest to be cool. And so that's why I'm always like, maybe too much. I tell men too much. But my point is that what are some of the red flags, I guess, that you can give us that we should look for? Like, what should I have done in that situation if I saw that? Ended it quickly or more quickly? What would you have done?
Yeah, I mean, to me, you didn't say much about him, but he already sounds like a narcissist. And, anyone that tries to, if you like put on makeup and he's like, oh, who are you putting on this makeup for? You're such a whore. These are men that are, they want to break down your confidence because they don't want you to be with someone else. They're usually cheating on you. Listen, I've been in relationships with guys where I feel in my gut. And this is the thing with women. They have these gut reactions and it's not sometimes it's not based on anything that you see and you're like, ugh. And then you ask a guy about it and he'll be like, you're crazy. I can't deal with this. And he'll go at you. And then, you started this thing where you're like, let me just talk to him about it. I just want to ask him about it so I feel better. And you start this thing and all of a sudden just asking him about, can I just ask you about why you acted so bizarre and you turned your phone down while you went in the shower and it made me feel uncomfortable. So can I just ask you why you were so like shady about turning your phone down while you went in the shower and why you didn't want me to see who you were texting and it made me feel a little bad? Instead of him being like, oh yeah, sure. It was just, I wanted to, I don't know, whatever. It was a picture I didn't want you to see, or I'm getting you a gift and I didn't want you to see. Instead of like a calm reaction, when this guy turns around and is like, oh, fuck off. You're so jealous and I can't stand you and you're so psycho. And next thing you know, you're begging him to forgive you and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. This is
exactly what happened with classic recent two exes. I can't believe you're like speaking my language. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, but it used to happen to me all the time. And next thing you know, you're begging him to take you back and you're crying and you're like, I'm so sorry. And the guy's like, that's it. I'm done with you. Forget it. And he slams the door and you're just like, oh my God, what happened? And you're like left alone. And this used to happen to me all the time. I used to date a guy here in New York who was like a partner at like he like worked on Wall Street, whatever, I'm not gonna say. And literally, a year and a half into the relationship, I can't tell you how many times we would go to dinner and we were so loving at the beginning. And then halfway through the dinner, I don't even know what would happen. He would get so pissed about something. He would leave me at the restaurant with no credit card, no money, because I wouldn't bring my wallet. And literally he would get up and walk out of the restaurant and leave me.
That's abuse.
And a couple times he took my cell phone and he would throw it. One time he threw it in the bar and like, the rack of drinks or whatever, it like smashed. And then he walked out. I mean, so I couldn't even call my friends to be like, can you come pay the bill? Oh. Like, I can't tell you how many times I was horrified, humiliated, at least 6 or 7. And I knew this was going to be a reoccurring thing. And the worst part is about the whole thing, I kept going back to him. I kept saying, oh my God, I did something to make him do this. I deserved it. I provoked him. And I kept saying, why isn't he calling me? Why isn't he asking for me to come back? When is my phone going to ring? Instead of, oh my God, like this guy's such an asshole. I don't deserve this. And so it was my fault that I kept going back and I kept asking for it. And what a moron I am for, for going back to it. So those kind of red flags, obviously this is like big red
Yes.
flags. But that kind of behavior is obviously unacceptable. But it all starts with the little things of them putting you down to make your self-worth
So that's their goal.
less than. Yeah.
We should know that when you're getting into a relationship with a narcissist, once we find it out,
Mhm.
that's their goal, is to break us down. It's really less about us and more about them. But their
Right.
manipulation, correct me if I'm wrong, is to make us feel like it's about us.
Yes. Yeah.
It's crazy. And then they try to come back and fuck with you. It's like, I don't have time for this, boo. I mean, I can barely get this. I can barely, because our industry is you're always on the go. So that's why I don't know how you dealt with it. Let's talk about, we're going to switch gears a little bit, media.
Okay.
You've been in the public eye, in the media. And if you feel comfortable talking about the Tiger Woods situation, just for the audience, who knows, who doesn't know, what was your biggest, did it bother you that you were painted in the media about that whole situation? And I want to get your side of the story about the whole thing, instead of you calling the shots and you controlling what you want out there in the media about who you are and yourself. Like you said, you've had a career in hospitality. You've had a career in broadcast journalism. You are one of the most intelligent women I know in this world. You have so much going on for you. So was that, how was that experience?
Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the situation
Right,
in general,
right.
but I'll talk about the experience that you just said. That it was very hard to deal with being lumped into a whole narration of a story, and then have to, just sit back and listen to the narration go on and on and on. And, the whole world talked about this story, and it wasn't for 15 minutes. It's been and continues to be a story that when you talk about sports, even not just that person, but you talk about the biggest comeback, or you talk about the biggest fall from grace, or you talk about, there's so many different like avenues you can go on to talk about something that story comes into play for people. And then my name gets brought into that. And so, and the narration of that story is so convoluted. And then the words that people use to describe women in that are really hard to deal with. And I think that, men that are already looked at as so beloved, in that situation, they wanted to find a monster to take down and a monster to blame. And I think, I don't know, did you see the HBO documentary?
I did.
That
It
came
was,
out?
I mean, you are, first of all, if anyone hasn't, they should watch it. You're in the documentary. You are incredible.
Thank you.
And you get to know that side more because you're explaining it intelligently. And I know on a podcast, you can't get into it. Listen, I'm even, like, I want to admit, like, we're all part of the problem. Like you said, it's because it's a narration and everyone wants to talk about it. And why I think it's important to touch base on it here is to say that you shouldn't be known just for that. And you should be able to have a comeback. Because me too, I had one reality season that failed, and now I'm always known for that. Why can't I be known for my broadcast journalism career, my radio career, my TV career, my producing career? No one wants to. They want to just say that slut who was on the reality show, even though they don't even know my sex life. It's like just labeling us.
Right.
And so I want your take on, in general, right, without getting into too many details, but like, how does that, like, what do you do in that situation?
Well, I think that part of it is in sex scandals in general. Women are the ones that are humiliated, slandered, ridiculed in general. And then there's nowhere for them to go. But athletes or celebrities, they can make a mistake, and then it's almost like how they go back out on the court or, on the field or whatever it is. They can kind of redeem themselves if they make the next goal or the next play, right? For women, they don't really have anywhere to go, and it's difficult to find your footing. And then, these words that are used to represent the other woman, or, just women in general, are really hard. Slut, whore, it's
mistress, when they don't even know if it's true or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, for all we know, you could have been friends, or I could be friends with a married person. That's okay too. Meaning,
right.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Of
Just
course.
one photo, one rumor can really ruin someone's life.
Yeah, but not only that, like one mistake you made or one decision you made doesn't define you. And by the way, like, everyone's made mistakes or had things happen to them in their past. And like everyone else got to sort of gets to have a life and gets to move on. Like, I don't know why people like everyone else's life gets to sort of
Right.
move on and people like don't even talk about it. But like people want to talk about what you did 10 years ago. It's like so irrelevant,
I know.
A lot of it too is in your own head or my own head. So it's stuff that, if you weren't thinking about it so much and wondering what other people were thinking about, it wouldn't be so much in the forefront as well. But, I think that for women in general, it's been a stigma and it should be something that people really think about because, I was just on the Wendy Williams show a couple months ago or whatever. And I went on to talk about seeking arrangement. She had invited me on to talk about that. We knew that that's why I was going on. And the producers, said she was really excited to have me on. And the first like 10 minutes of the interview was like this really awkward, strange interview about my relationship with Tiger that and I don't know if you saw it, but it was like she almost was interviewing me like she felt like she had to ask me these questions because for 10 years people had talked to me like that, but it was so not appropriate. It was like
I was cringing. I'm
we've
sorry. I was
all
cringing when I
gotten
watched
over.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like we've all talked about this for 10 years and you're a woman and you're talking to me like this and what are we talking about? It was like so awkward and bizarre. And I wanted to be like, what are we doing here? This is so strange. And it was unfair. It was really unfair treatment. And someone after was like, does she owe you an apology? And I was like, well, no, she doesn't owe me an apology, but she really owes an apology to women. I mean, she is a woman. Like, how could she sit there and be like, well, I don't like homewreckers, but I like you, Rachel? I mean, like, I thought that was really because she's been cheated on, she needs to blame me.
Right. And
for
we
her
don't know,
for-
we don't know that. We don't even know anything about, like, we can't
Right.
use those words because we don't know what happened. We will never know. We will never.
But-
I
but
get what you're saying. Right. Still, you
even
shouldn't.
so,
yeah,
I
women to
didn't do
women.
anything to her.
Of course
I didn't do
not.
anything to everyone else in the world. And still, it's none of her. Like,
Business.
she doesn't need to be angry with me because
Agreed.
she was cheated on in her life. What's her anger about? And what,
Like a lot of projection, it seems.
Yeah, it was just so uncalled for. But that is proof of how I've been treated by everyone for 10 years and probably how a lot of people go through life feeling like they are shamed for whatever it is they're going through personally. And that's exactly what I wanted to show people about how I've been treated by, and she is the media, but
Mhm.
how I've been treated by the media and the narration of the media because they created a monster out of me unfairly. It's because they do that to the woman. And she was a perfect example of how you create a narration of something and then you stigmatize the woman. And for what? I mean,
Right.
really, for what? It's a private matter.
Agreed.
And she sat there and on public television tried to like berate me and
shame.
humiliate me. And it really was. I'm surprised that more people didn't pick that up.
I picked it up. I was disturbed. It kind of made me.
I mean, a lot of media did pick it up.
I love her, but these are the reasons and I'm going to be honest because I promised myself I'm just going to talk about things I authentically feel from now on and without being scared. It bothered me because I looked up to her that she's not advocating for women. That's not bringing a woman up. That's bringing a woman down.
Right.
Because there's a way to say, Rachel, like even now, and I'm not perfect because I'm still learning, but it's saying, hey, I can relate. I want to talk about this, not to bring it up, but to talk about other people who are listening. Right. How can they change the comeback? How can they make the comeback? Like you said, you're focusing on seeking arrangements right now, which is awesome. How were you able to transition? Because I'm still trying to figure out, like people still want to talk about princesses. And I'm like, guys, you know, I have a podcast that was on Roni and iHeart. And like, I have great guests like Rachel Uchitel and like Luann de Lesseps and Kevin Bacon. Can we talk up, it's just interesting that I feel like you can be the model and the leader of how can we change this narrative and talk about what you're up to now.
Right.
Talk about the past a little bit, but
that's
what brought you to
on
now?
There.
Right.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I was on there. Or if she was so angry, I would have rather her been honest and be like, I'm really mad at you and I want to tell you why. Like that would have been a better use of her 10 minutes.
Yes.
And then we could have had it out and I could have been like, let's talk about why you're angry.
Because you're never shy of a conversation.
Yeah.
You're always willing to have one.
And she could have said, I'm mad at you because my husband cheated on me, Rachel, and that makes me mad at you. Because I would have gotten that. And I could have been like, I wasn't the one that he cheated on you with. So let's talk about that for a second. You're projecting on me. And we could have had a really cool, honest conversation
and a
about
cool
that.
bonding moment. Maybe she
Yeah.
would have learned from you,
Yeah.
honestly, to like, and would have had an advocate because you're a woman's woman and you're always there. Like, even with me, you were there for me right away. And it felt like I was talking to my friend for years. Like, that's how cool and down to earth you are and like authentic.
Right.
So I feel like she could have had a friend in you.
Yes.
We're going to, a couple more questions. I'm going to wrap up because I want to get into seeking arrangements.
Okay.
I want to get into all about and why you are the spokeswoman for it, why it caught your eye, what can we look forward to?
Sure.
In terms of, and we'll move on from the Tiger documentary. So talk to us a little bit about that experience. And do you believe once a cheater, always a cheater? Do you believe even for us, like if somebody, a celebrity, a regular guy like him, if he's cheating on his wife or his girlfriend right now, do you think he can make amends or anyone like that can ever change? Or do you feel like they can't? I don't know because I don't know those. I've dated guys and I feel like the guys who've cheated on me, I went back to them. They've cheated on me again and they've cheated on their new girlfriends again. So talk to us a little bit about what you feel on that.
What do I think about cheaters in general? It's a topic that I don't really, I'm not a therapist. So again, I think each person's situation is different. I think that people have the tendency to repeat patterns. And I do think that once people have patterns, they continue to do them. That's my personal opinion.
And it doesn't mean, right, you don't want to comment on.
No, I don't want to comment on him. I don't know his situation. That's
very,
my opinion on that behavior in general.
Right. So, and let's talk about seeking arrangements. So talk to us about what it is for those of people out there that don't know, and why did you decide to get involved with them?
Okay, so seeking arrangement is, a similar site to Bumble, to Tinder, to Match. It's an online dating site. You can find it at seeking.com. They've shortened the term now. The greatest part about this website is that it offers more optionality than just swiping based on your picture. And nice. We really believe, and I really believe, and why I joined up with them is because I really truly believe the best way for successful dating is for you to be transparent up front and to ask for what you want up front. And there are, like 25 boxes you can check right up front to say what it is that you want. Nobody wants to go on a date and 4 dates in realize that you are hiding things or that the person's hiding things and they're different than who you thought they were. So if you are somebody that really wants to date up and you want to date for a certain lifestyle and you want to be someone who wants to travel a lot and be around for literally a certain type of lifestyle, and this is who you want to date, you check those boxes. If you want to date somebody who is completely monogamous and you're only in it for marriage and you're only in it for love, and you check those boxes. If you want to date a complete sugar daddy and you want to date somebody really old and take care of him and pet him like a nice little cat,
I might want to do that.
and feed him medication, and be Anna Nicole Smith or whatever her name was. Like, you check that box,
right, right.
and get the $400 million. Like, check that box. But no, I mean, I'm joking.
No, but that's amazing.
Yes, like there are all these boxes that you can check, and that's your, everyone has their own.
You're right.
Their own thing,
yeah.
And you can literally pick what you want. And for me, I don't want to go 5 dates in and realize that the guy lives with his mother and can't afford my Uber. I mean, seriously, do you want to date the poor guy that has no job?
Because I'm poor. No, just as a joke, but for lack of better words, because I'm broke. So if I'm going to be broke in the street, how am I going to date someone that I'm going to have to take care of also? Not that I don't mind if we're in love eventually for me to chip in. I'm not saying that.
Totally.
But you're right. You're very right about that.
Right. And people go on J-Date because they want to date the doctor and the lawyer and the guy who's the accountant. Yeah. People go on Ivy League for the guy who's gone to Harvard and has the education. So, this is the elite dating site for people they know, have are a little bit, wealthier and have put in the actual qualifications that they can, be there for women in a different way. And so, they actually have the boxes that, for different profiles. It's a really good way to date.
And how do you get in, like, how can I become a member, our audience become a member, or is it just for specific?
Like literally the bottom line, you can go on and become a member for free, or you can go on to different echelons and pay.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Literally, I'm a member. Like, by the way, the interesting thing about it is
Yeah.
that people are on Bumble and Match, and that's the thing. But Seeking.com is the biggest, it's the largest online dating site. Just nobody wants to admit that they're on it. It's 22 million members.
Wow.
But, because it's had this stigma of the sugar baby, sugar daddy thing that goes along with it, nobody wants to say they're on it. But if you ask your friend, they'll all say, oh, I've been on it for years. So
Wow.
what I'm trying to do is destigmatize this whole thing about the sugar daddy, sugar baby thing, because it's really not about like this old guy and this young 20-year-old girl and he's paying all her bills. That's no longer what that look is. It's really, it's two people that want to be in an arrangement, which is in a relationship. I mean, we're not talking about that kind of thing that has a taboo anymore. It's
I like
really,
that arrangement. You're right, because we're all in an arrangement. We're all
yes.
trying to find an arrangement.
Yes, and it's really just a relationship, but you can just be upfront and honest. It's a dating site like any other dating site. People don't have to have this taboo that goes along with it. That's a bunch of bullshit. And it really is a great website. I've been on it for a while now. I've found a lot of great guys on it, and you
Nice.
just have to know how to work it. You have to really have your profile that makes sense. You can't have these ridiculous photos. You can't have a
True.
profile that says stupid shit on it. You have to really make it work for yourself and use it appropriately, and you will find a great date. I promise.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
what inspired you was that you were just you wanted to date like a normal person or just a person that gets you? Like what inspired you to say, you know what, I want to be a part of this?
Well, what inspired me to go on
On
it
it.
is that during the pandemic, I moved down to Palm Beach. And
Oh,
I, literally didn't want a long term. I wasn't like looking for marriage and was on Bumble and like seeking a long term thing. And a girl who I had met down there had said, oh, you should go on this site. You can actually find somebody in Palm Beach just for, while you're down here. And she told me about it. And I said, oh, well, let me try. I could find some, nice suave guy in Palm Beach and let
that's so
me
cool.
try it out. So this is how I found the site.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
you're perfect to be the spokeswoman for it, because I feel like we can trust you and we know like you're not bullshitting. You're saying, I'm on it. I've experienced it. Here's what it is. And I like that you're destigmatizing, because that's what this podcast is supposed to be about. And just in general, I want to start changing the narrative because we've all been through it and you deserve so much more. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
I want to talk about, since we both shared, you, I'm sorry, because I guess the studio, they have to like bring
Oh.
somebody in. So I'm sorry, but
Okay.
okay, I'll ask you one more. If we can do a part 2, would you
Sure.
be open to? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Because there's so much to ask you, and we have fucking audience questions. This podcast, it's not easy doing a podcast, okay, guys, but you should think about doing it. So we should talk about that.
Yes, for
Because
sure.
literally the other day I was like, what would Rachel Uchitel say? I feel like I wish she had a podcast I could just listen to right now, but whatever, because you could do it solo. The bullying situation with Chrissy Teigen in the media. You've been bullied in the media. I've been bullied in the media. What are your thoughts on what she did to Courtney Stodden? Now the whole Michael Costello's coming out. I mean, what are your thoughts about it, I guess? Let me ask you actually exactly the way, because we're taking listener questions.
Okay.
And you were a victim of bullying on the internet. How do you feel about the Chrissy Teigen scandal? Should she be canceled in your opinion?
Okay. So this whole, let me answer that very carefully. I thought it was very interesting that finally somebody said something about how Courtney was treated. It's sort of come after the whole Britney video came out, or movie, docuseries, whatever it was. I think that for a long time, people have been very quiet about people that have a lot to say on Twitter and Instagram, and that just have a lot of opinions about things. And she's been somebody who's just open with her opinion, and I think that has been, she's someone who should have take a seat for a little bit. That's all I'll say about
Maybe
that.
reflect.
Yeah, yes, for a long time, people have been really rude to me, to people like Courtney, and to Brittany, and I have sat back. Personally, I can answer this for me. I have sat back for the last 10 years in silence. I've been sentenced, so to speak, in silence, sentenced to walk my life in silence while the media, because you cannot fight everybody. And that effect that it takes on your mental health makes you literally want to kill yourself. And the verbal abuse is the same thing as someone taking a knife to you. It's just that you don't see how badly that hurts. And I really don't think that people get that. And just because they're not in front of you saying it to your face, you still read it and you still see it. And then people take that and they weaponize that. So just because of something you did in your past, that will follow you forever. So it's almost like I can't be in a relationship with somebody taking that and using it against me. Every time I break up with a man, they will turn around and they get mad and they'll be like, "Well, you're nothing but a mistress. You're nothing but a gold digger. You're nothing but a whore, this or that." They mark my words, they always use those words, and they weaponize what happened 10 years ago. And by the way, girls do that too.
Yeah.
If they get mad at me, they say that stuff.
Me too.
Or
Yeah.
if they see that I'm spending money on something and they get angry about it later on, well, you just have that money because of, what happened to you 10 years ago. And I'm just like, what? You just can't get away from it. It's crazy.
It's
It's
crazy.
wrong. And it's not okay. And I've sat there really sentenced in silence because you literally can't fight everybody. And by the way, you can't talk almost about how much it hurts and how you've been victimized by it, because if you then talk about that, then people say that you're unstable because
I'm like, literally, you're my soul. You're speaking to me right now. Yes.
So it's been really hard too, because having a kid, you know, has been hard too, because I have to be very careful about saying how hurt I've been, because then, I have an ex-husband, I have, whatever, and saying I need a timeout because of how much I felt hurt. When somebody's your ex, they're an ex for a reason, right? So they don't like you either.
Yeah.
So they'll come at you with the same shit. I have a tendency to get involved with narcissists. So I literally live my life very closed. I don't trust anybody. I really don't like anybody.
Me too.
And it's very hard to this day to have relationships for me. And so, anyways, the point, to answer your question, is I think she should take a seat. I think that there needs to be a movement of people really being, watching what they say, because people, I'm surprised more people don't kill themselves because of what people, the media or people say on the internet. It's really crazy. And it's really hurtful.
And it affects you. So right before we wrap up, any tips what did you do to deal with the mental health? How are you dealing with it? What can you share with us?
How did I deal with it? I suffered in silence. I didn't deal with it.
I'm so sorry.
And I will tell you that once I tried to go to rehab for post-traumatic stress disorder, and I left before I finished because I couldn't handle being there, because I felt so trapped, and I didn't think it was going to be acceptable to be there. So I don't think that I have properly dealt with it, quite frankly. And I think it's something that I do need to deal with. And I think I'll always need to deal with it until the world changes, and it just won't. Right. So
Yeah.
I think that it's something that, just like Courtney, just like Brittany, just like anyone, you just have to get on with your life. I have to learn how to forgive what people have said about me.
Yeah. That's a big deal. Forgiveness. I know. And and trust me, I get it. That's why I'm so sorry, because I feel like you're so much more, and you deserve to be heard and not be attached to that.
Yeah.
Or, and none of us do, but
Right.
I just feel like you deserve it. And like talking to you now, it's like, I want to talk to you more. You know what I mean? I want to and that's the thing, is when I have you back, we'll talk about like the comeback, like meaning how do we focus on you moving forward? Like, I'm so happy you're doing Seeking Arrangements and you're working on do you want to share with us other projects that you're working on as well?
When I come back.
When you come back. Okay, good. And people can check out now. The documentary is called Tiger.
And it's on HBO.
It's on HBO. And
on demand.
On demand. I think you could also stream it on HBO Max.
Yep.
I saw it. That's amazing. Congratulations on that. Where can everybody follow you?
On Instagram at Rachel Uchitel NYC, I think. That's it, right? I don't even know.
I'm like, no, and Seeking Arrangements.
Oh, yeah.
Seeking.com.
Seeking.com, yeah.
And I guess, what would you like to leave off of? Like, how can we help you and people like me and people in general focus on the comeback? How do we change the media's mind? How do we change podcasters, reporters, let them know we're coming on to talk about what we're up to now? We don't mind sharing what was in the past that got us here, but we are talking about what's now.
I just think that
That makes
I would remind people to, as they're listening to us, to, so many people want to talk about others. And like so many people are at dinner, gossiping, looking at gossip magazines. Like everyone's on the internet reading about other people.
Yeah.
If people take 1 second to just look inside and just shut their mouth for 1 second and realize that when they talk about other people, they don't know what the hell they're talking about because they're not in that situation. And they don't realize that they really don't know the details of anything except for their own lives. And how hurtful that is when they talk with such ignorance about a situation that they don't know, and how hurtful that is. And so I would just caution people that when they hear things in the media or they see things in the media to just be careful when they speak, when they think, when they talk, that, because I hear people gossip all the time and they just talk with such, sense of authority, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about, and it's mean. And it's just to make their lives feel better and to make it feel like they're part of the story. And they're not. They're not part of the story. And I just wish that people would realize I know that everyone has their own tragic story, that I know they have their own sense of worth that they're dealing with. And remember that the person they're talking about is dealing with 1,000 insecurities in their own head and 1,000 moments that they have to turn off the light and get their head on the pillow as well. So like, just take a breath and realize that whoever they're talking about or whoever they're looking at the gossip website is dealing with a sense of hurt as well. So just like, take a second and think about that and not be so mean. Everybody's really mean.
You're right.
And just like, I just wish that people would not be so mean. And
Yeah.
it's hard because, I think that people forget that.
But it matters that you're saying that, and that matters, and that's valuable, and that's important because you're using your voice for good, and you're using your voice to make a change, and that's what I love about you. We all love you, and I understand the trust. So as much as I can say I'm here for you, I get why in general you're hesitant, because I get hesitant. I hesitate. I can't speak today. I hesitate in relationships as well.
Yeah.
So, but I want to have you back, and I love you so much, and I'm
Thank you.
so rooting for you, and
Thank
thank you for coming on. And if you don't mind saying, your favorite place in the city to go to escape. Maybe you could recommend something for us for Chanel in the City.
Oh, God. Escape like what? Like a restaurant? Or
Yeah, like a restaurant, your favorite place to check out, your favorite, if it's a park, where do you go to just get like a sense of power, sense of peace?
Oh, my God. I have to think about that for a second.
It's okay.
Where do you go?
Oh my God.
Oh my
Well, I'm
God.
about to say, I love cafeteria. It's just one of those places that makes me happy. I know it sounds so weird because it's such a happening place, but the food is comforting and the drinks, and when I'm there, it just makes me feel happy again. Like I have this sense of freedom because maybe it was a place that when I was at my happiest, it was something that reminded me of that. So that's my place to go.
Oh my God, I can't think of one.
It's okay. Do you have like a restaurant that you love, or food that like a?
Hold on, let me think of one that I want to give a shout out to. Oh my God, this is horrible. Trying to think if there's like a place in the park I like. I literally am thinking that I don't like anything. I go to Central Park with my dog.
Nice.
Oh, I know where. So, right by the boathouse, where you can, I don't know if you can do it anymore, but like where you could take the boats out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I love that.
And you can look out at the water. That to me is like a really cool place, and I'll go there with my dog and with my daughter, and like you look out at where people can like paddle around. And I actually haven't been there recently where if people can take boats out, but that to me is like a really special place because that actually is where my fiance had proposed to me. Oh. And so I love that place, and I love going there on like a sunny day, or even when, like in the winter, it's so pretty there. And to me, like Central Park, but that area of Central Park is so beautiful. So
I love that. And I just can't wait till you come back because we have so much. We didn't even cover Housewives. You should be on Housewives of New York. Got to get your opinion on that. But don't worry, Chanel in the City audience. I know you're obsessed with Rachel like I am. We're going to have her back for part 2, hopefully. What an honor. We love you. Thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on.
Hey, guys. You're listening to me, Rachel Uchitel, on Chanel in the City with Chanel Omari.